Hello everybody, it's the Historical Gamer once again, and today we're returning to Strategic Command World War I, a new turn-based grand strategy game out by Fury Software and published by Matrix and Slytherin Games. This is a interesting World War I game where we're playing as the Central Powers. This is episode number 5 in our series. We're toward the end of September. We've just concluded the AI's turn. We have troops besieging Riga in the east. We've taken Belgrade and are driving south into the heart of Serbia. Meanwhile, we've completely abandoned the Schlieffen Plan in the west, and we are not trying to do anything more than gain a couple of isolated victories in France. Anywhere where it seems like we might have an opportunity to isolate an individual French unit and inflict heavy casualties on the French, we do, but not much beyond that. And that's the situation right now as we are in the end of September. We were just notified that the British are about to go to war against us, so they will probably enter the war in the next turn. So this game is about to get interesting. But so far, so good as the Axis, and we are, not Axis, I guess, as the Central Powers, and we will see how things play out here in the 5th episode of our series. I hope you guys enjoy. This was taken from a live stream from a couple of days ago, so I'm going to go ahead and get out of the way, turn it over to my live stream myself, and you guys can sit back, relax, and I hope you enjoy. Leave your thoughts below, and I'll catch you guys at the end. These Russian units here in Poland are surrounded. So we're going to go ahead and attack. They're very low on supply, which will make them ineffective in defense. Okay. So we just destroyed that guy. These troops at Lutz. Damn it. Couldn't quite finish him off. A huge Russian army is forming here at Warsaw. Great. They must be pulling troops west. Attack those troops here. We'll have our cavalry come up here. Hopefully finish them off. Not quite. Okay, so we just destroyed another Russian force near Tarnopol. Almost destroyed a Russian corps to the east. This corps of Austrian troops will reform. 1 to 3, I'll take that. Alright, so another Russian corps destroyed here. So an Austrian advance to the east. Theoretically, we could be advancing on Kiev, but I'm more advancing against the Russian army in general, and not particularly against a force. We'll advance these two corps here, mainly to protect the advance of the flank of the troops here, swinging in to hopefully destroy these Russian troops here in the east. Move these guys north from Krakow to protect the flank of the troops in Poland. Move these guys back to safety a little bit. Interesting that I can get a 1 to 3 there. Defensive artillery to the east. Riga has fallen! We have taken Riga! Whether we can hold it or not is a question for another day. Advance those troops. We'll attack that headquarters unit. Okay. All right. So we've taken Riga. Again, I don't know if I'll be able to hold it, but I've at least taken it. I don't think we're going to attack Russian ships in port. We're going to move this sub back. We'll keep our naval vessels off Labao in an effort to reduce that port for the enemy. Pull these guys back out of danger. Back to Königsberg and Memel. I think they'll advance here and probably destroy this cavalry unit here. But the fall of Riga should hurt their morale a bit. Russian morale is already down to 83%. The Germans are still at 94. The French are at 93. The British are about to enter the war at 100. That'll probably boost Allied morale as well. Okay. Meanwhile, a huge battle shaping up in Poland. The Austrians are advancing and turning the flank of a large Russian formation here near the Ukraine. Meanwhile, these guys need to reinforce. They'll pull back. Attack toward Peck. Move these guys here. Okay, so we destroy the garrison unit in Peck. That's one more enemy unit gone. These German units will advance south. They'll attack the Serbian headquarters unit here. So the Serbian army headquarters is badly battered. I'm losing steam in Serbia mainly because I don't have enough fresh troops. I've got enough units there, but they're all pretty badly shot up. There's a fresh Montenegrin corps, a fresh Serbian corps. Looks like there's 2 Serbian infantry corps, a Serbian infantry detachment, a Montenegrin corps, and a Montenegrin detachment, and then whatever Albania is bringing into the conflict as well. So we're going to try and cut supply to these Albanian bases. All right. Meanwhile, you can see our attack options in the west are becoming less profitable by the looks of it. Interesting that these guys, though, would have a 2-to-1 against them. Reinforce the troops at Nancy. Epinal is a fortress. It would be nice to take it. I just don't know if I have the manpower to try and go for it while we also fight in the east. As a reminder, the British are going to war. So we're going to entrench these guys. So our front line is entrenched. I guess I'll just reinforce these guys. That's probably the better route. Entrench these guys. Entrench these guys. So our whole front line is now entrenched. We have reserves coming up. We still have a pretty thick line. We'll have artillery defense on most of our line with this one artillery unit. I have new units to deploy, so there's 2 new German reserve corps, which we can deploy. I think we'll probably deploy them in the east. So probably put one at Alstein. And then maybe deploy the other here at Tilst. Because we've got a bit of a narrow front there. I think I'm trying to attack in too many places at once. Meanwhile, these troops in Aachen are going to rail. Where can they rail? I guess to Krakow? So they can participate in the offensive in Poland. Then we're going to go ahead and do some research with our 209 points. We're already researching infantry weapons. I think we probably want to research infantry warfare. Maybe a second point toward trench warfare. Then a point toward infantry warfare. And a point toward logistics. So we're investing 650 research points. Austria-Hungary, meanwhile, infantry warfare is a good idea. Germany actually is already level 2 infantry warfare. The Austrians are at 0, so that would explain some of their ineffective attacking. And then I think the Austrians will also benefit from trench... Well, they might be more on the offensive. We don't have enough money for mobility. Logistics is probably a good idea for the Austrians, too. And then the Ottomans now have enough money to invest in infantry warfare. They're already investing in command and control. And so that's where our money's going this turn. No, but here's the interesting thing. The Brits are coming into the war. The Belgians are still pretty firmly neutral. We could do a Schlieffen plan later in the war when things solidify over here. It's an option. Okay, so that's going to do it for the turn in September. Hopefully there aren't too many strong counterattacks against our weak units here in Serbia. Hopefully the attack on the Serbian HQ will hurt their efficiency. We'll find out. But we're going to go ahead and run the next turn, I guess. So the enemy does appear to have a destroyer as well as mines along our Norwegian convoy routes. Now, the interesting thing here is they're way too close in. Like, this is just a bad... Sorry, France, but that was suicide for that destroyer of yours. So we just got 175 national morale points for destroying that French destroyer that was placed along our supply lines. Meanwhile, I think our sub is going to try and get... We should probably take advantage of the fact that we're not yet at war with the British to try and get out of their blockade. So we'll send these subs to the north and out of the blockade region. And then maybe we can swing them onto national morale convoy routes. In terms of new units, we haven't really been purchasing much, and that may come back to hurt us. We've got some units already in the queue under construction. We've also got some more infantry units, at least one that's going to be ready in October for the Germans. The Austrians have a much thinner queue. Nothing for the remainder of the year. The Ottomans likewise. So we're going to need to start spending some money on new units. Move this headquarter unit east, I guess. I'd like to move it to Lemberg. I don't know why they can only move one hex at a time. Alright, so let's go ahead and move forward. Moving into October. The loss of Riga reduces Russian national morale. The UK is joining the Entente. The UK is starting to send supplies to the Russians. The Entente naval units blockade imports to the Germans in the North Sea. Fears of German raiders are influencing British trade and the British Empire. Japan, meanwhile, is declaring war on the Central Powers. The Maritz Rebellion of the Boers in South Africa is going to distract the British. New Zealand is sending an expeditionary force to seize German Samoa. Max Planck and other prominent figures signed the manifesto of the 93 to support Germany. Are those Americans? I don't know what that is. King Carl I of Romania dies and Ferdinand I ascends to the throne. Scientists report progress in infantry weapons for the Germans. Lots of little event triggers there. I'm not sure how many of them mean much. I mean, when the Ottomans declare war, then theoretically I can move troops forward. Commander of the High Seas Fleet, Admiral von Ingehoel. Carrying out unrestricted naval warfare against the UK will be a good way to damage the British economy. To do this, send naval units to the convoy routes to the west of the UK that have a merchant ship with a British flag on them. By placing naval units here, we may be able to shut down, at least temporarily, the UK ports. This would hit the UK's economy hard, with drastic consequences for the UK's ability to wage war. Their national morale would also be affected, while our population will applaud the use of unrestricted naval warfare. However, be warned that such moves would annoy the U.S. government and could ultimately lead to the U.S. entering the war against us. Indian Army formations are setting sail for Europe. Lord Kitchener issues a call to arms. France announces the formation of a foreign legion. I hope we can take Pek next turn. That should hurt Serbian morale. Meanwhile, Russian naval assets continue to hamper us in the Baltic. French naval assets are trying to move Austrian naval forces off the ports of Durazzo and Antivari. So naval battles occurring between the French. I think these are the French. They could be the British, but I think they're the French. In the Adriatic. Historically, there were definitely naval actions between the Austrians and the Entente. But they were largely kind of sideshows. There weren't huge naval battles. There were some. But there weren't, like, any Jutlands there. Of course, the navies were far smaller, too. Your father was a hamster and your mother smelt of elderberries. As a reminder, everybody, this game comes out tomorrow on Steam and on the Matrix and Slytherin stores directly. It is developed by Fury Software. Large Russian armies forming in Warsaw. It is really tempting to have this formation that's advancing in Austria drive north and then see what we can scramble together for the Germans and try to drive them south east of Bilask to try and create a big pincer that'll cut off a huge portion of the Russian army. I don't think that's very feasible, in all honesty. I don't think the Austrians are up for it, but it sure would be a lot of fun. Captain von Trapp of the Sound of Music fame was a submarine commander in the Austria-Hungarian Navy in World War I. Interesting. Did not know that, Oriel. Not as many attacks there. There was the one German corps to the east of Matau that was attacked, but a slightly quieter turn. Yeah, the 1 strength unit. Hung on by the skin of its teeth there. Sunk, not suck. Promotions all around. Spooderman, that would be like someone riding over to Pickett, like after Pickett's charge, and being like, General, brave charge there, you're promoted. General Lee, I have no division. Forces from Canada and Newfoundland are sailing for Europe. Central Powers are disrupting Serbian convoys. The Entente naval units are blockading imports to Germany in the North Sea. Lieutenant Charles de Gaulle returns to active service after recovering from a wound. Käsebrot, bread made with potatoes, wheat, and rye, is launched in Germany. I'm guessing that's because the blockade was introduced? Meanwhile, the mud season has arrived. Mud, mud, mud. The mud is the mud. Mud, mud, mud. You don't like the look of the maps, Charcoal? You know, I actually really like the look of the Strategic Command maps. But hey, that's just me, I guess. What do the airships do? Like, what can I use these things for? Are they just scouting elements? Okay. I mean, maybe I can bomb England with them? I don't know. All right, so we've got another headquarters unit, von Mackensen, and we've got another reserve army corps coming up. Like, do double entrenchments matter? Can I create 2 lines of entrenchments? Well, so here's the thing. I'm not going to do anything with these troops. So they're at entrenchment 1. If I do this again, are they at entrenchment 2? No. Okay, then why bother, I guess. It's a balloon! Yeah, I mean, I guess. Meanwhile, the artillery now has 2 shells. We can begin to pound Verdun. Verdun. Alright, let's reinforce those guys. Verdun. Alright. The muddy season in the south. Meanwhile, Peck has been reinforced. God, I gotta get these units back. Let's reinforce this German unit to full strength. Reinforce this Austrian unit. Wow, 109 to reinforce them all the way. I'd like to destroy that headquarters unit, and I did. Very good. Reinforce these guys. Judas Grawley, thank you very much for the follow. Appreciate it. Okay. So Peck has been reinforced with Serbian troops. All right, let's advance these guys here. So we'll have 2 strong corps, potentially a 3rd. This German Reserve Corps could advance as well against Nish next turn. Really use some artillery there. Do we have any new artillery? No, just infantry. Damn. None of these other units can reinforce this turn because I already moved them. Nish, meanwhile, pretty well dug in. Level 3 entrenchments. I think we reduced them by 1 per attack. I don't want to pull the 1 artillery unit we have in France back. So we're not going to do that. Heavy casualties, but I'm trying to drive these Russian troops back. No, I didn't click the advance button. Did they just advance on their own? Those guys are dead. I'm pretty sure I didn't tell them to do that. Yeah, I think the Ottomans will join soon. I'm not 100% sure. Alright, these guys have been cut off for a couple turns, so Lutz should fall next turn. Or this turn, I guess. So we just took that. So Western Poland is now ours. Meanwhile, German units are going to... These guys are going to fall back here. Mainly because if you reinforce and then you get attacked the very next turn, you can lose some pretty nasty casualties. Alright, so we'll attack these German troops here, or these Russian troops here. They'll get some defensive artillery, but we'll still destroy this core. Reinforce these troops. Riga is open, so theoretically the Russians could swing in behind me, but I don't think, with the way that the zones of control work, I don't think they can just swing in behind me and do that. Okay, we'll reinforce these guys. I might indirectly threaten Vilnia. So I'm kind of probably not focusing enough and attacking in too many places at once. Alright, so we've got these ships up here. Alright, we're going to send these guys out on the national morale objective up there. These guys can get there too. No, they can't. The Emperor of India, British Dreadnought, is at sea up here near Scapa Flow, and our sub just got interdicted in its effort to get up there. Okay. Alright, so we have new units that are ready to deploy. We're going to deploy an additional German army unit here near Tannenberg. We've already got two army headquarters out that way. So I think I'm going to deploy... Well, where do we want to deploy these guys? Has to deploy here? Okay. I don't have enough money to operate anybody. Alright, I think our front line is relatively secure. I mean, we could reduce the unit to the south of Verdun. These cavalry might get killed. These guys are going to move into Lemberg. Okay. All right, so Western Poland is German. We're advancing. We've got large Russian formations here that only have a single... This is interesting. The only rail supply they have is coming through Brest-Litovsk. Now, I don't think you really fully cut the enemy off just by cutting the rails, but if you do surround them, you will cut them off. So again, we could theoretically make a sprint with these troops coming north and these troops coming south. I probably don't have the strength to actually affect anything at the moment, but it's an interesting idea. I think from a research perspective, I'm going to spend a little bit more money this turn for the Austrians on infantry weapons or infantry warfare because they're so far behind there. So the Austrians are now spending 600 on research, the Germans 650. We'll kind of close that out there, and then we're going to move into November and see what happens. Von Spee defeats the Royal Navy at the Battle of Coronel. We have naval units in place that could more effectively sink merchant shipping, bringing supplies to the UK, if we were to stop following the cruiser rules restricting commerce raiding. Instead, we could authorize our naval commanders to launch a campaign of unrestricted naval warfare against shipping off the coast of the UK. Such a move will certainly upset U.S. public opinion, as neutral ships will inevitably be sunk, but if we use enough vessels, the results could be quite spectacular. Would you like to authorize the launch of unrestricted campaign against shipping to the UK? In addition to normal sinkings, the fear of unrestricted campaigns could lead to British ports clogging up with merchantmen afraid to sail. If this were to lead to their ports being inoperable, this would have a massive impact on the UK's ability to determination to wage war. No, we're not going to do that yet because all we have is a single sub along their national morale route. If I get a critical mass of troops there, then I will. But not until then. Meanwhile, Albania is supporting the Entente, but they're also in the middle of a civil war. Oh, I forgot about the French Navy or British Navy down here. Fears of German raiders upsets trade from the British Empire. British and Japanese forces capture Tsingtao in China. Von Lettow-Vorbeck defeats the British in German East Africa. Okay. USA no likey. Damn straight, Big Mac. Anzac sets sail for Europe. Look out, Gallipoli! What? France just declared war on Belgium? The what? The British public are angered by the attack on Belgium. No shit. What the fuck? We're screwed. The French protest the declaration of war against... The French declared it? They're protesting against themselves? Does this make the Americans unlikely to join the Entente? Oh no, an Austrian cruiser just got sunk. Or actually it was a pre-dreadnought. Curses. I'm very confused. I'm assuming the... So my assumption here is that the game made the decision, you are not playing historically. Therefore, we will not play historically, right? Because the game is making the decision that you are intentionally keeping the front narrow. That's going to make it impossible for the AI to break through, and therefore we need a longer front. And so to accomplish that, the French are going to declare war on Belgium. That's my assumption. Now, does... I like how the game's like, but wait, we're not going to attack the Belgians until the British join us. Now that the British are with us, Ha! Screw you, Britain. We're attacking your allies. Oh, boy. Yeah. England would be super thrilled. They're like, we're going to war with the Germans. Whoa, what? What just happened? Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a curveball. Give the game credit for that. Oh, boy. The French are going to overrun Brussels pretty much immediately. There goes the Austrian cavalry that decided not to obey the orders. Meanwhile, the French are launching an attack on Nancy. There goes Brussels. The British are upset, but they sent cavalry in there anyway. Belgium apparently is on the German side, I guess. That's kind of fucked up. Screw you, game. Well, now I really need to knock Serbia out of the war. Look at all those troops pouring in there. I guess the good thing is the front line is actually not that much longer. There's only like 3 additional hexes I have to cover. Might actually open up an ability to hit the French in the flank there. As they're kind of pointed north toward Belgium. I guess we'll see. Belgium moves government to Antwerp. Guys, that might not be the best place for your government. German action on the North Sea blockade line interrupts the flow of neutral merchantmen shipping destined for Germany. Huh? German action on the northern blockade line interrupts the flow of neutral merchantmen shipping destined for Germany. I don't quite understand that. Union of Democratic Control forming, calling for the democratic oversight of the UK foreign policy. The Battle of Couscous. HMS Sydney sinks the Emden. Yeah. The game heard my plan. The Badenburg pre-dreadnought is sunk, the 1st Belgian corps is destroyed, and the 3rd Australian corps is destroyed. Chief of General Staff. Our agents in Morocco believe that the tribes of the Rif are ready to rise against the French. This could be an excellent opportunity to create trouble for the French in Africa, but representatives of the tribes have requested arms, ammunition, and money, and they are unlikely to act without them. By sending weapons and money to the tribes of the Rif, there will be resistance to French rule in the area, hitting French income and possibly even diverting some troops from the Western Front. Yes, please. Commander von Ingenhol of the High Seas Fleet. There's a British tanker called the Gladden Hour that was interned at Danzig at the start of the war and could be converted into a seaplane carrier. The work will cost us 100 MPPs at 50 per turn for 2 turns and will be completed in December of 1914. The Gladden Hour was at Danzig when the war began, and after being seized by German authorities, it was decided to convert it into a seaplane carrier. Carrying 4 aircraft, it took part in operations in the Baltic against the Russians, but it was badly damaged when struck by a mine on its way back to port. Yes. The Derfflinger battlecruiser and the U-35 submarine are both completed. So our fleet just grew stronger. All right, everybody, that's going to wrap this episode up of Strategic Command World War I by Fury Software. I hope you guys are enjoying this game. This game really just threw us a curveball. I was not expecting the Allies to invade Belgium, so this is going to be a weird war. Things are getting weird. The Eastern Front and Serbia are going well, but I have no idea what this means for the Western Front. Things could be very difficult very quickly. We'll find that out, however, in our next episode. So I guess I'll just leave it at there. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts below. Let me know what you think about the Allies declaring war on Belgium. Is that something you like? Is that something you don't like? I can't imagine the British are happy, but they're also helping with it, so I don't know. But yeah, so that's going to do it for this time. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts, as I already said. And until next time, this is the Historical Gamer, as always, saying thank you for watching. And until next time, I'm out. I really repeat myself in my outro a lot. That's probably not the best. But anyway, see you guys.